Driven, RE/MAX Hallmark's real estate show, with your hosts, Johnder, Perez, and Dan Salhany.
Welcome everybody to the Driven Real Estate Show by RE/MAX Hallmark. We are your hosts, myself, Johnder, Perez with.
Hey everybody, it's Dan Salhany. Thank you for
Awesome.
joining
Thank
us.
you so much for joining us today. And so we've got two special guests today. They work as a team, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but we have Barb Blaser and Janet Nielsen. Welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us today.
It's our absolute pleasure. So let's get started this way. So Barb, Janet, tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you're working together as a team, which part of Ontario you work in, and let's sort of get things rolling that way.
Janet, you go first.
Okay, so hi everybody. Thanks for having us. Yeah, we work up at the Blue Mountains. We're everywhere up here: Wasaga Beach, Thornbury, Meaford. We go way up to Tobermory, Lions Head, Georgian Bay.
Fantastic.
So we're gonna.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, that's all right, not a problem. So we've got a little bit of a different format today, so we hope it turns out really well. But first question for our lovely panel: what is the secret of your success, independently and then as a team, as two people working together?
Well, I think my secret to success is being consistent in what I do and how I do it. I started out, I'm 22 years, Jen is 35 years. I started out just taking a very small territory, working it, owning it, sticking with it, and then slowly increasing it, doing the same thing consistently. Obviously when you start up new, you do some things that don't quite make sense. You spend a little bit of money where you shouldn't spend your money, but over the years we know what brings us money and how to get it. So we just consistently stay with it and never stop doing it.
We're going to come back to that, Barb, because that's very interesting. Janet, can you give us a little bit of?
Yeah, I think definitely it's knowledge. It's one of those things. I started my real estate career. I got my license when I was 21. So back then, computer wasn't big. So you really had to know your stuff and do all the digging that it takes. So I'm a real digger. I know my stuff. I get to know the stats and all that. I've taken courses, classes, seminars. And thank God now we have Hallmark and the training that we have. We didn't have that years ago. So we had to search all that stuff out for ourselves and be a digger and figure out things. You have to figure things out for yourself. So definitely knowledge and definitely stick-attitiveness. You gotta stick to it and keep going.
Absolutely. So the stickiness and just keep on going and the persistence is what I'm hearing from both of you. So you've both started out in your business individually. I mean, over the years, you've received a lot of accolades and of course, RE/MAX career level awards, such as Hall of Fame and Lifetime Achievement. But so can you sort of describe to us, how did you both individually start? So we'll start with Barb, then we'll go to Janet. How did you individually happen to get into the real estate business? And then as your careers transpired, how did you happen to connect with each other? And how did that dynamic look like? So Barb, why don't we start with you, like in terms of how you discovered real estate and then we'll go to how Janet discovered the real estate as a career. Go ahead, Barb.
Well, this is like my third career. I started as a nurse and worked in intensive care for many years, then had children, and then went into medical sales, and then got divorced and figured, how am I going to make money? And I like looking at houses, so I decided to go back to school and got my real estate license and took off from there and love every minute of it. It's definitely where I should have been. I forgot what the rest of your question was there.
Well, sort of. I mean, in
And
terms
Janet and I met Janet when I've only ever belonged to RE/MAX York Group, RE/MAX Hallmark York Group. So Janet and I met there, and we just became very good friends and worked alongside each other. Didn't work with each other. We helped each other out a lot. We would door knock and do things together. And then when I decided, was it 6 years ago, I decided that the market in York region was definitely changing. and I needed to go somewhere else. So I decided to come to Thornbury, where I live, and Janet lives in Meaford. And also to live in a place where I can enjoy my life and like, it's beautiful up here, and to sell real estate. So then when I said I was coming, Janet and I found an opportunity to come together and do this together. I mean, coming up here, starting over again, completely not knowing a soul is difficult. So two people together makes it much easier.
And it's interesting to see that you had a career in a sales related field, like medical sales. And so coming into real estate would have been a natural progression. And with the fact that you had a lifestyle change, of course, and being able to take control over a lot of the things in your life, I mean, that's an absolutely fantastic move. Janet, how about you? How did you get started in real estate, and then describe to us your journey up until the point that you connected with Barb?
Yeah, sounds good. So I bought my first house. I got married at 20, bought my first house at 20 years old. And I didn't like the service that I got. So I decided to get into real estate. My very first listing was my own house. Because I know one of the other questions you're going to ask me is what is the biggest challenge that you had getting into real estate? And it was literally my age. I would show up to the house and they'd say, you know, I think my kids are older than you. So I had to get some, of course, knowledge behind me, but I had to get to know things. I did rental properties and that sort of, we started flipping properties. So in 22 years marriage, we flipped 20 properties. So I had a lot of landlord-tenant act issues, knowledge, that sort of thing. And I grew up in Aurora, so I moved back to the Aurora office where I met Barb, and she was just getting the wheels turning. And we decided that we were going to just, you know, door knock here and there and whatnot, became really good friends, and always were bouncing things off of each other because, you know, this business, you need help. And we've been helping each other ever since. And that's 20 some odd years ago. And then she dragged me up here.
Kicking and screaming.
I said, I'm not moving there. I'm so glad she asked me to come up here. It is absolutely stunning. And it's nice to deal with people who are up here skiing and, you know, at the beaches and, you know, kayaking and want to go swimming and all this kind of stuff. So now we're really, really enjoying the North and enjoying setting some of our past clients up in this area as well for them to retire and that sort of thing.
So I think that that's one of the positives for sure, is that you're obviously enjoying what you do and where you do it. So that's probably has a big compliment to your successes and your growing success. So let's just rewind a little bit. I have two things that I wanted to ask. You know, one of them is, what were your biggest challenges starting out and how did you overcome them? That's number one. But I also want to go back to a comment that Barb made right at the very beginning, which was, I was spending money, I was doing this, I was figuring out what worked and what didn't work and all this other stuff. So if you can kind of wrap those two conversations together. So what was the biggest challenge starting out and how did you overcome them? And then at the same time, what were these activities that you were doing that you know, today, X number of years later, you're benefiting from, that, you know, you've had consistency with, and that's continued to allow you to prosper and whatnot. So biggest challenge starting out and how did you overcome them?
Well, our biggest challenge, we didn't have a database. We had nothing up here. And you know, starting over, I can tell you how old I am, but I'm not young, and it was okay, here we go again, you know. So we that was our biggest challenge. I mean, we definitely counted on Hallmark, are still counting on Hallmark to refer their business to us, because now we know this place inside and out. And I mean that as far as our competition up here, it's easy in that respect, but it's just convincing people that they're not getting the full service that they need, right?
So Barb, go back to that. It's easy. It's never easy.
Well,
so is it that you're
easy
just...
once we get in the door? If we get in the door, I mean, every area has the guy that, you know, everyone uses them. Well, has anyone, and then they complain. So, we're just slowly slipping in. And when we arrived here, we pretty much got known immediately in the high end. Because we did land some listings and got known. Everyone, all the big players know who we are, which is great, which where we need to start, just to put who are those people? What are they doing here? I mean, we bring a Toronto or a York region kind of attitude to pretty much a cottage country of agents that are probably no more than a couple of years in the business.
So it sounds to me that you brought technologies, opportunity, different value adds into environments that didn't really experience this. And then obviously, I'm going to assume that you demonstrated how those value adds could be beneficial
value
to those.
We're trying. We're obviously, we're not winning everything, but we're still digging. We dig. We don't give up. I mean, it's easy to work up here because of the environment we work in. It's not, I got to go to work today. So what? I get to drive by the water and be on a cottage. I mean, it's beautiful. So that part is fun for us, which I know Janet, lives, breathes, and eats real estate like I do. And we also try to balance it. But so as far as that, when we first came, it was scary because it was starting from zero, again, like really zero. And we were building it. And so we're still taking care of our old clients, only our own old clients, but a lot of them are coming this way. And Hallmark has been very generous with us that we are getting known and people are referring business to us. And we believe we're taking good care of their clients for them as they would down there with the same caliber. So that's what we want to bring up here. So that's when you start a new business, you need different funnels. And we've tried to get as many funnels coming in as we can.
So it sounds like you're really,
because I'm one of the Hallmarkers that receives consistently your weekly email. So you're constantly in my inbox. And then maybe once or twice a year, I get a little surprise, a branded gift from both of you. And so the one thing that I can attest to for both Barb and Janet is the sheer consistency of the branding and communication and knowing where their business has come from. Where did you both get that idea in terms of, I mean, of course, building a referral network is huge, especially in a network as huge as RE/MAX Hallmark, but most especially because you're specializing in a geographic location you live in and you love. And so, some realtors, they'll start with the marketing and then they stop at some point. But again, your emails every single week,
Well,
I know it's there, and yeah.
Consistency is the key to success. Do not start something you're not going to do for 20 years. And, first couple of years in real estate, I'm sure Jen, the same thing. I fooled around with different ideas and didn't get it. Then I got one. We have notepads. We give notepads out. And that I have done that for probably 15 years. I will not stop that. And about the database, I mean, Janet painstakingly put every Hallmarker into our database. When she got up here, she says, what do I do? Just get names in there, And she takes care of the newsletter every week with our assistant and she deserves all the pat in the back for that, because and it's still going on, but she did all that.
And I still receive it. So we do have one question from Lisa, and then we're going to go into our next question as well. But Lisa's asking, how many realtors do you think are in your area? And the reason why it's pretty relevant to the question we're going to ask next about how you built up your business is because there's always going to be competition. And so even up in your area, in as much as now you're focusing and specializing and becoming the known brand, how many competitors do you think you're up against?
Jen?
Well, when we first got up here, it was the Southern Georgian Bay Real Estate Association, which we're both still TREB members as well. But Southern Georgian Bay had about 660 agents up here. We're about 1,400 now versus I think 64,000 or something like that. So the numbers weren't high, but we don't have the huge neighborhoods that you guys have either. Like Toronto being so big and Pickering and even Ottawa and all those huge places. We're not that big. So we do travel a long way to all these different communities, but we are close. So in regards to, there's generally always one other person competing with us. In Toronto, you might get some more than that. But realistically, with all the things we can talk about in regards to Remax Hallmark and, you know, all the stuff that we have that backs us up from you guys, it becomes almost a no-brainer. I'm not saying we get every listing that we try for, but it sure helps along the way.
Okay, so then how did you get to the point where you built your business to where it is today? Now, I know we've heard a couple of different things that you do, and it sounds like, of course, you're very systematic and consistent. But for those listening who are just starting out in the business, or for those who seem to be inconsistent with their marketing efforts or their prospecting and business building efforts,
Can
how
I
did you
answer that?
how did you build it up? Yeah, how did you build it up?
Okay, so one of the things that I learned a long time ago was when you're starting any business, whether you're a plumber or electrician, it doesn't matter what you do, what town you're in, how old you are, because obviously I was 21 when I started. Look at, where am I going to get my business from? So who do you think is going to send business to me? And where do you think I'm going to get my business from? So then once you start saying that, okay, so Barb and I came up here and said, well, where are the people coming from that are coming to this area? So whether you live in Pickering or Toronto, if you're dealing with condos, who are buying those condos? Are they 40-year-old people? Are they 20-year-old people? Who are these people and where are they coming from? So then you got to start to target, which is way easier now with Facebook and Instagram and all that, because now you can target a certain age group and stuff, where we kind of went the donkey route trying to figure this out. But now some of your newcomers, the new agents, can say, well, I'm going to work this condo building. Most of the people moving in here are, 40 years old. Let's target them. Let's get them in. So let's figure out where the people are coming from that are moving to your area. And then that's sort of where we started. And a lot of the realtors were sending their business up here. So now we deal with a lot of the realtors because they're sending them there, which is really neat for us. When we are having open houses up there, we ask, where are you coming from? We're coming from Kitchener, we're coming from Guelph. So we're sending referrals from people that are running around up here that don't have an agent. So we can send referrals back to all you guys too. I haven't had anybody Jonathan, from Ottawa here yet, but we'll get to you.
so it sounds to me, without overly articulating it, it sounds like to me that you've done a lot of studying to who's our target. Yeah, how do we get to them? And now you're utilizing technology that didn't exist 20 some odd years ago to basically, captivate that audience and let them know, like, if anybody's going to buy in these communities, we're the people that you need to talk to. I just wanted to go back, just rewinding a quick second here. You said when you initially got up into that region, you got a couple of high-end listings that kind of set the tone and got you in front of an audience or a certain audience. How did you get those listings? I mean, both of you were new, right? Like that this was all new?
It's word of mouth. Friends, because believe it or not, there are a lot of people up here that have all come from where we came from. So that was mainly how we got in there. And the audience we were really trying to get in front of was the top producers here, just to get our name in so that they know who we are and get a little nervous about us, and that they start talking about us then. So that always helps in the circle.
So what
it was generally referrals.
Yeah, referrals.
But the market wasn't always booming up there.
Oh no,
not
when we came.
Right. So I mean, here you are, newer to the environment, right? Starting from scratch in a market where prices were moderate, and let's call a spade. There wasn't a ton of inventory the way it has been the last 5 years.
Well, there still is not a lot of inventory. I mean, when I first looked at coming here, I looked at just Thornbury for what sold. And I looked and went, yikes, that's half of what I would sell in a year. So I need more business.
How big is the range of your regions that you work? I'm looking at Janet's
back. What do you mean?
What's the distance between all of these regions?
Oh, an hour, like an hour either way kind of thing. It's not bad. We can pretty much in an hour circle do quite a bit of business. It's
40
not far.
minutes to Wasaga
Yeah,
Beach,
it's not that
an hour and a bit to Tobermory. Owen Sound is close by. I'm in Meaford, she's in Thornbury. We're in Collingwood
S-
all the time.
So
Tiny
Janet,
beaches.
tell-
We're all in this area.
so you get these opportunities through networking and through some referrals and so forth. And you've got these players that have already been in the region for X number of years, and you guys wanted to poke the bear,
of course.
right? So,
Of
so,
course.
so tell me, tell us, what did you bring to the table that convinced those sellers to go with you as opposed to the known names, number one? And then what were the activities? Did you do
So-
anything specific that was
so we-
outlandish?
Well, not outlandish, but we door knock and we still believe in it. We still do it. Now COVID, we had to stop, but Jet and I are really avid door knockers and we've done that forever. And the notepads, as I said, 6,000 notepads go out about every 3 months. And we've now, in the beginning, we kind of sent to the wrong areas. So now we figured out where we really want them. So now we have 6,000 that go out every 3 to 4 months. And that costs us about $6,000 each time we send that out. But we always get something out of it. Now we just started back doing open houses. We were doing those galore in the beginning. If we had a listing, we just open housed it just to get known, our name out there. We put a little ad in a local little newspaper. I'm going to say it's called a review. So we just put our picture in there just so that on the second page, right in the top corner, so people start seeing our face. We go to the grocery store. I know you. They don't know where they know me from, but they know me now because everyone looks on that second page. You open your pictures there, they see us. So it was just a matter of getting us brand recognition in here, and we're still working on it. We're not anywhere near there yet.
So 6,000 notepads. What's household population up in total population of number of homes?
Oh well, it depends. See, we've picked Meaford, Thornbury, Blue Mountains, a little bit of Collingwood. We've picked our area. We haven't gone totally into Collingwood or Wasaga Beach yet at all. So the secret to success is you keep it confined, you become an expert, you become known in that area, and then we can branch out. And if it feeds us enough, then we're fine.
So strategic.
Sounds like-
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it sounds like a very solid and systematic plan. And so you're familiar with how, of course, you've been able to grow your business based on these systems and based on the marketing. Now let's dive into what does a typical day look like? Because in addition to the macro concepts of the marketing and the strategies that you do, there's a day-to-day stuff that you do. And if it takes an hour from one place to another, I'm sure there's a little bit of driving around during the day. So Janet and Barb, why don't you to kind of give us a glimpse into what a typical day works for both of you? Are you both working together most of the time? Are you kind of, individually taking on appointments? What does a day look like?
Well, my day normally starts with I clean up my emails. I look at my emails, get all that dealt with, and then get into some prospecting. Janet and I tend to work, we go in on listings together, but then we tend to work independently so we can cover more ground. One person picks up the lead. Seeing as we're getting leads from agents and notepads and all these other sources now, they're coming in different ways. So whoever grabs the lead takes it. And then when COVID really changed a lot of the world, you're not seeing as many houses as we used to. There's no more open houses for agents and people aren't looking at everything. So the last 2 years have been really quite strange in that respect. So, I mean, we go with whoever we got. We show when they're going to come up, and now we're going to start doing more open houses. So that will change our weekends for sure. Janet?
And we're going to get back to the door knocking, which we actually love, because over the years you kind of learn the secrets to doing it the right way, and the little ways to get some action, some listings and all that. But realistically, once you start door knocking all these neighborhoods and stuff like that, I mean, honest to God, they drive by in the cars and they're waving at us. I mean, honestly, they get to know you so well. And most of the time it's a friendly situation, and people are always asking what the neighbor sold for, and, maybe come back next week, give us a price, blah, blah, blah. We really, really like being in front of people. And then we have a follow-up system that, depending on who they are and where they want to move to and that sort of thing. We have sort of some standard questions that we ask. And but when that changed, and we couldn't door knock, and we couldn't go do our open houses. And I also like to do the agents open houses because I want to know the product. I want to see what the competition has. I like to get to know all the local realtors, because you know you're going to have an offer on their property, and if you're already getting along with them quite well, it really is a smooth offer when you put it together. When you're friends with the other person, you can work it out. But those three things changed, so we changed our ways, obviously, into doing a lot of digital stuff. At one point in time, I think I was at 30 different webinars. Johnder and the gang of you there. I got 4 different designations during COVID. We didn't stop figuring out what's the next angle, how else we can get leads and how people can call us and see us and get to know us, but we couldn't get in front of them, obviously, right? So we've always liked to stop by, see people, that sort of thing. And obviously you couldn't do that. So we just came up with other ways. So our daily routine is not what it used to be, because we had a plan on, okay, a couple of days a week we'll be out this neighborhood, that neighborhood. Then obviously we couldn't do that, so it kind of put a little ripple in our style for not being able to door knock. But we just put our nose to the grind, and away we went. And yeah.
Do you mind me tapping into something? And it's not part of our questions. It's just I know a few realtors that are in our market. I was with one yesterday who's actually been out door knocking now the last 2 weeks and has had some success, and he's picked up 2 listings in 2 weeks. So talk to us, number one, about how often are you door knocking? Number 2, how many homes do you usually hit? And then number 3, what's your message? Like, obviously you've been doing it for a while. So like you said, people are waving at you and you're kind of like the household names now, but leading up to that, before you got to that point where you're so well recognized, what's your messages when they're answering the door?
Okay, hi, real estate here. When do you plan on moving? So I'm going to ask them, when are they going to, and then, no, I'm not moving. And then it's, when will that be? Where did you move from? And if you were to move, where would you move to? So I already knew they were from Kitchener. I already know they want to move to Ottawa. So then, oh my gosh, I got friends in Ottawa, blah, 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 other people, you know what I mean? So you start to get to know them a little bit at the door. And then what happens is, would you like a price on your house? Obviously. I mean, it's not this quick usually, but then Barb and I start to send them relevant information, depending on where they want to move to. Do you have an agent in Ottawa? Do you have somebody in Kitchener? Blah, blah, blah. So we start to figure out where they want to move to and help them out with the journey, starting from there.
So Janet,
sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years,
so
but
Janet,
then we've started to get to know them.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to one quick question. You're knocking on the door. I'm going to assume that you're not saying, when are you moving?
No.
That's not the first thing that comes out of you, right? So what's your approach when they answer that door? I think that's really important on how do you like, they're obviously getting your, go ahead, Barbara.
We actually do ask them, when are you thinking of moving?
Right away, boom.
Right away, real estate here. When do you plan on moving? We have a little flyer made out. We hand it to them, and that's the way. I've got 5 questions. They roll off, and and they'll tell you, we're planning on moving in 2 months. We're gonna. Oh, have you got somebody else that's giving you a price? Do you know what your house is worth? Right out of the gate. And I never say what company I'm with or whatever. I just give them the flyer, because if they've had a bad experience with another company, I never say, oh, a Century 21 here. No, I just real estate here. And then they get to know us and that sort of thing. They could see Barb on the other side of the street or whatever, and they'll see us back another time.
You're just trying to qualify that you're not politicians.
Pretty much.
Knocking on the door.
But slightly still on the mayor campaign here.
Well, I actually really appreciate that approach, to be honest with you. Yeah.
We try to go out in regular time every day if we can get, like Monday to Friday, like 5 times a week if we can get out, depending on
Wow.
the weather, right? I'm a fair weather door knocker now. I used to go out in all sorts of weather, not anymore.
Oh, no, tell her the truth, Barb. She would drive me to the end of the driveway. I'd go out in the pouring rain and she'd sit in the car. I'd have the umbrella.
You go put the car in the door. You know, so that's our goal, is try to get out depending on what's going on.
How many
It
The
works,
houses-
numbers,
and we love,
it's more like the street versus I'm not leaving until I get 100 done. Generally, we want to
Yeah.
complete the street, if you will. So then we've done this street, that way, and then we're not halfway done, whatever. So it's not necessarily 100. We like 100, but it's get the street done or 2 or 3 streets done.
There's a
Barb,
lot of
is it part of your 6,000 notepads? Is that where, so you're basically doing all the same stuff in the same
Yeah.
geographic boundary?
so when
Pretty
COVID
much.
hit, we had just sent out a thing of notepads, and then we were going to follow up with door knocking, and we sent out the notepads and we couldn't go anywhere. It was really not so good. But yes, we try to follow the path. I mean, our properties up here are bigger properties. So, you know, we used to do it down in York Region. We could hit 100 doors each in a day, no problem. But we've got a lot of walking to do here, which is good for us. But, you know, so it takes a little longer.
Mhm.
How many days a week are we door knocking? Yeah,
We have,
as we said, we tried to answer Ali's question. We
Yeah.
try to do 100 doors. So
Okay.
100 doors takes you 2.5 hours. It takes you 2.5 hours. But that was when we first started. That's the goal. Set your goal and do it, and then you'll figure out each door how to get faster at it, and whether it's you're just kicking tires or whether there actually is someone.
Barb, is that 100 people that you've spoken with or 100 knocks?
100 knocks.
100.
No, you probably get 20 people you speak to out of that, like 100
Just
door
all
knocks.
depends.
And
Yeah.
then the point is, of course, to have a sort of a target, because otherwise, if you just go on what you feel that day, you're like, oh, you know what, things
Yeah.
aren't happening. Let's just quit it. And yeah, like 20 out of 100 is not that bad at all. Like, I mean, in terms of a return, I mean, if you're speaking with 20 people a day, that's a pretty good number of conversations.
Well,
and if you do that a
And
week,
if you get
like 100
5,
people.
I mean, the key to real estate is persistence.
Mhm.
Keep doing it. A lot of people start doing it and stop. You're not going to go anywhere. So lots of times you go to hit 100 doors, you get nothing. But in that week, you will pick up 2 leads and probably get a listing or something out of it for sure. We always did, always. And I can say always. So it's, and you know,
And
do
in the
not-
rapid market that we've had, you can't, like before we could say, oh, you know that bungalow down the street, they're thinking about selling. Now we've got these people, they're looking for that bungalow. Can we show your bungalow to you? But it hasn't been the market for the last couple of years to be able to do that. You know, I've got my buyer, I can, we can double end it, or so you haven't been able to do any of that, because obviously nobody's going to put their house on an exclusive basis right now and have only one buyer come to see it. I mean, that's not happening. So, but that's how it's nice. You can start to put the pieces together if you're door knocking, because you know everybody that's going to sell.
So
And
it's
sometimes
interesting.
They'll tell you they're listing with somebody else. Well, then we still try to get in and give them a price and tell them the benefits of us Hallmarkers, right?
Would you say you're very community centric?
Yeah, actually.
what does that mean?
Well, I mean,
We are
you're-
part of the community.
You're
Barb
dropping
and
no-
I mean, I come up
Yeah.
here, I'm curling. Barb and
Yeah.
I, first of all, we love pets. So we decided, we're part of the Children's Miracle Network. We've been doing that for, gosh, I don't know how many years, 25 years or something. But also we chose a charity that's part of it. So we're out of the golf tournaments and we're donating to the thing. We're promoting, not only we can find people a house, but we can find your dog a house, right? A new home for the pets. So we're part of the community, but for the last 2 years, I feel like, no, we haven't been, right?
Yeah, well, you
I-
both definitely. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I think it's hard for the new people starting out because they've come into such a fast market.
Yeah.
And it's been a fast market since 2017, and then kind of died out and then went fast again. But so when you get into these tougher markets, that's when, the going gets tough. But again, I can't stress enough that just be consistent in what you're doing. We get a lot of agents that we're talking to that want to come up here and show properties because, that this client is so special and they're the only ones that can do it. And I'm thinking, how are you working for your client? You're not. You have no idea what area they're moving to, what's wrong with that area, what's good about that area. There's lots of things that go on up here that you don't know about. And there's a lot of things that do affect the properties. So I say, stop stretching yourself so thin. Like, refer it, make some money. We'll take good care of them. I'm not just trying to toot our horn, but work your area, and anything outside that area, refer it. Get somebody else working for you. I know you're hungry. I know you need to be fed. You need to, pay your mortgage, but you're not going to pay your mortgage by trying to work in, 3 different zones. Like, stay where you are and farm it out to anybody. We could work in York Region now, but we don't. We only work with getting rid of our past client list, which is almost dwindled out. We'll refer business down there. We're referring business, as Janet said before, to Kitchener, to Ottawa. Like, we're referring it everywhere, because we need to stay here and build what we've got here now.
Yeah, so having a focus, and then because both of you are very entrenched and intimate with your communities and neighborhoods that you work in, you pretty much know. It's like, you know the pulse of the neighborhood. And so interesting you mentioned that it's a tough market to get into at this point, because it is. I mean, we're coming from a market where you could literally, getting a listing was like winning the lottery, and you pretty much get paid for it. Right. And now, with the challenges of an increasing interest rates, with increasing listings, and then prices getting affected, and listings are staying on the market a lot longer, it is a little bit more tougher for realtors. But when we look at both of your careers, you've been in this real estate business for decades, and you've been through these ups and downs. Hey, it's a good thing, right? So what I'm looking at is, what has kept you motivated after all these years? Like, what gets you up in the morning and say, hey, I want to do this again because this is exciting?
Money. Money. The excitement of it. I love a thrill of a chase. So for me, that's what keeps me going. I want it. I'm going to go get it. I mean, we're going to win that listing because we want it. That keeps me going.
Absolutely.
I definitely like making sure that someone gets the house of their dreams. I really like that part, right? Making sure they're happy. And I love when they refer their friends, their relatives to me, because I did a good job for them. So that's a big part of it.
We're not the type of agents that just want a listing or just want your house. I mean, we tend to get very involved with our clients, probably maybe a little bit too much sometimes, but like Janet said, we want to make sure they're happy because those people will tell somebody else. So we full service them and go on after, and especially up here in a smaller community, your name gets known that they, you do a good job or not a good job. So we tend to hold hands a lot, and that's probably been our biggest kind of detriment to ourselves, but it's worked out in the end for us that people recognize that.
So before we go into our last question, so you've got a choice on how you're marketing yourselves. And when I said community centric, the fact that everybody knows you and waves at you and knows that you guys are the brand in that community. Do you do any cold calling?
Well, the phones are gone. I mean, we both used to cold call galore, but it's cell phones now, right? You can't get the phone. They were a waste of time. Door knocking, get yourself outside and get in front of the door. Then you see somebody, right? As far as I'm concerned.
I think cold calling does work in certain areas, definitely, but up here, it just doesn't seem to work, even in regards to the number of for sale by owners. All that kind of stuff is very few up here. Maybe that will change, maybe whatever, but we're prepared to get in on those sorts of things as well. But there just hasn't been the number of that. But cold calling, we both kind of stopped that a number of years ago because I think we like the face-to-face. But if it's working for somebody, that's great. It's really not what we do.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I think the fact that you figured out what works best for you in your environments is ultimately what makes sense. So at the end of the day, what would your advice be for either an agent getting into the business, maybe somebody that's been around for some time, a little bit jammed up? Give us an idea of what your advice would be.
Well, I think because I started so young and I didn't have a database and I really didn't know much about how to sell a house, And there was no training and that sort of thing. I started with like, my 25 friends, and then bit by bit grew my database. I kept in contact with everybody, and I always had something, like I always stopped by to see everybody, and I always bought like these trinkets, like 25 little trinkets, and I'd stop by, got something for you, and I've got a nice measuring tape, and just go to the little things. Here's a little barbecue grill scraper. I always had something in my car for you. So I'm driving down the street, I think, oh my God, here they are. So I would stop off and have a little something to give them, something. And before you know it, I was building my business with my friends and their friends. And, so whether you're really, really young or you're not, then you can just start with those people. Then it became some of the friends from my children's school and all that stuff. But by then I was to the age that people actually realized that I was in the real estate for a while and I wasn't just, 20. So, but yeah, keep in contact with the people, Christmas cards, birthday cards, your friends, your mother, your relatives, your cousins, keep in contact, because you never know when they know somebody they're going to send to you. And even if your friends are in Vancouver or whatever, keep in contact with all these people and keep that little friendship database going.
So Janet or Barb, is it real estate here when you're keeping in contact with those? I'm being very serious.
No. Well, I think it's a little bit different approach with friends. We always try to make sure they know what we do if we're meeting in a new crowd, of course, but you have to know, judge your company, who you're with, and what your signals are, right? So you got to know your opportunities. We don't run around and do ambulance chasing, or like the guy across the street died, I haven't run over there and shoved my card.
No, nothing like that. No.
So we're a little more subtle. But I think for the new people starting, I think again, be persistent and consistent. Start small. Get a partner. I think in this day and age, it's best to work with a partner. I think it's way too hard on your own. It's too expensive on your own. Pick what you're going to send out to the public, like how much you want to spend on. I'm not a big paper person. The only thing I do is notepads. I don't do just listed. We don't do stuff, none of that. I mean, I use the internet to the most we can use it. And the young people all know how to do that anyway. So that's not a big, that's been a challenge for us because we didn't have computers when we started, right? We had tear sheets and books. So that's the main thing. Just start small. Don't try to overstretch yourself, and be the king of your castle, be the king of your neighborhood or your people or your, whatever your database is, 200 people, be their person. And start there, and they will have 2 other people, and then you just keep moving. Your salary, your income per year is, I don't look at it per year, I look at it over 5 years. If I have a lousy year 1 year and I had a fantastic year before, well, guess what? I had a great 2 years. It's not about how much am I going to make. It's about it being consistent and bringing in the money, and being good to your clients, and being loyal to them, and following them, and taking care of them after the sale, keeping up with them. Like Janet said, we have stuff in place that we constantly keep up with them, to keep them on our database and keep them engaged with us. So that's the key things.
Johnder, does anybody have any questions for our panel, for the people that are live here?
Thank you for showing up.
Oh, there's actually a lot of people on the other feeds. I'm actually watching.
Oh, are there? Okay.
Yeah, there are.
And I love receiving the the bottle openers, the red one.
Oh yeah, we got a couple stuff for next year.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to the measuring tape.
But I've had clients. I had a client say to me, he goes, "I got to show you something." I said, "Really?" So I'd given these barbecue flippers and grilled to perfection years ago. I had 25 of them. I threw them into my car, and he pulled it out. He said, "Remember years ago you gave me this?" So yeah, just always have something a little like 25 of who knows what. And just stop by. People love to see you. They chose you. They really they like you for whatever reason, and stay in contact with them. And in Maui, to call them right now, right?
Absolutely.
I
And
think
they're
that's it.
happy to hear from you.
There's
We have
a
a
question.
question from Angela, actually. So Angela, what
Angela.
would you like to ask Barb and Janet?
Hi. Hi. Sorry, I was off screen. I'm actually, today's my day off, but I'm painting. So
Okay.
but I just wanted to hear what was going on, but I do have a question. It's more about what you were just saying about having after service. So what are the things that you keep in touch with them by? Because I you know, I'm working on that and I want to get better at that.
We
So what are
have
the
we have a drip program we send them. And then we also send them, well, our assistant sends 3 months, a year anniversary cards kind of thing. So they get something from us that's saying, happy, you know, after 3 months in, how you doing? Everything okay? And then we try to follow up with them. Jan's much better than that than I am. With them right away, like within a month, everything good. What you know, obviously the next day they close, we're talking to them, but we keep following them. But there's lots of great drip programs out there you can get put on so that you keep touch with them. And call them. I also send personal notes every year to all my clients, all my past clients. I handwrite them. And that generally gets the year started.
So Barb, what time of year do you send those handwritten notes? Because I know a lot of people do it so after the holidays.
After the holidays. I don't want it embedded in the Christmas stuff. So after the holidays. Yep.
Good point. Good point. Great question. Anybody else have any questions for Barb and Janet? And Barb, Janet, in a few moments, actually, you know what? Do it now. Type in your contact information. I know Janet has it on her screen back there, and I receive it every week on the email, so I've got it. But anybody from Ottawa, anybody from GTA,
I'll do it right now.
Ontario-wide or Canada-wide, if they want to send you business or if they want to buy in your areas, how can they reach you? By phone? Website is homesingeorgianbay.com. Phone number 519-599-6134. But yeah, put into the chat your email address. So any of our Hallmarkers who are joining us on our Zoom can reach out and send referrals instead of driving all the way up there.
Well, and vice versa. We have some people that we obviously have sent us referrals. So we have sent back referrals to them in Toronto and different places. We're looking for people to send referrals to. So we're not greedy. We also want to share, and it's happening, which is great. Because most people coming here, this is their second home. Or either they get here and they move in and then they sell their other home, and we're not going to take that other end. We're going to send it somewhere.
Absolutely.
So we're going to share.
Nice. Good. Anybody else have any questions for Barb and Janet? Good, awesome. The contact information is there, so feel free, Hallmarkers, and of course, our friends from other brokerages, feel free to send your referrals up to Barb and Janet. Thank you so much, Barb and Janet, for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Driven episode today. It's such a fantastic, fun-filled and information-filled session that we've had, learning from you and learning how fantastic it is to be able to build a real estate business that you enjoy, that's part of your lifestyle, that gives back to your community, and it's something that you're always excited about. So thank you so much on behalf of myself and Mr. Salhany. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see
Thanks
you
for
next.
having us.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
having us.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
ladies. Thank you all
Bye,
for being here.
Bye.